And welcome back to Beerfield Fantasy Football. I hope you guys are all ready for Week 6. Uh-oh.
Hold on.
Don't uh-oh.
You forgot
You
to
can't
start recording, did you?
No, the webcam froze.
Oh.
I gotta stop the YouTube stream and restart it.
Okay, so just keep the audio stream going, I guess. Sorry, everyone on the YouTube stream. We'll catch you later. See you in a minute.
Hold on. Let me see if I can fix it without that.
Okay.
Just keep talking. Video problems on YouTube. I don't know if you have audio yet.
All right, well,
Perks are doing things live.
we are Beerfield Fantasy Football. If you are joining us, I am Nick Sparts. We got Dan Thury across the table from me.
Yeah, Theory BFF. What's up, guys?
And trying to troubleshoot the technology, we've got Christopher Haber.
Yeah.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's.
I don't know how to do this. I wonder if I can stop it, start it, and keep the same stream window up. We're going to try that.
Okay. Well, while he's doing that, just a reminder that if you do want to see this chaos happen live on YouTube, follow us at Beerfield Fantasy Football there on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Up to this point, we have not had this particular issue, so usually it goes without too much.
I think it's because we unplugged the webcam and then plugged it back in, and I didn't realize it was frozen because I just had the logo up.
That'll do
and
it.
It usually doesn't like that.
All right. Well, apologies for messing with the technology today. If you
Should
want,
we just restart the whole show?
Sure. Let's just restart the whole show.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Test run. We're learning on the fly.
Doing things on the fly.
I think we're back.
Oh, have you just kept the recording going the whole time?
No, I never restarted it. I mean, YouTube, I'm just using the same stream, and I don't know what YouTube's going to do with that. So
okay,
we are live streaming now, though.
Okay, and this is still on the same audio. Okay, this has been just.
No, I'm starting a new audio track.
Got it.
So the pod will be clear. I'm not sure what YouTube's going to do with this. I didn't want to lose our 4 viewers or 3 viewers or whatever.
Pour through.
I don't know how this is going to work.
Hey,
guys.
we're glad
am I
that
waving
they're
at
here.
one of our viewers?
We're glad that they're there.
Screw it. Let's go.
Fuck it.
I don't hear anything.
Let's see the video.
Oh, wait. It's because I didn't hit the intro music. Wow.
And welcome back to Beerfield Fantasy Football, take 2.
I think we're good.
All right.
I think that
We
works.
even have our first question already.
Webcam's up.
Webcam's working. Yeah.
We're good. All right, we are Beerfield Fantasy Football. Welcome to Week 6. We're going to get you to all the previews on today's episode. Normally, this would be when we recap Thursday night, but it hasn't happened yet, so we can't do that in today's episode. That'll get kicked to Monday. Or maybe we'll do that Sunday morning live. We'll figure that out later.
Well, I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
All right, but I am Nick Sparts. Joined across the table from me is Dan Thury.
At Theory BFF with a question from Colton, and probably one of the best
best comments I've ever heard.
What's the most you guys would pay for Le'Veon Bell right now?
I'm fab. So this is going to be a percentage answer.
Wait, he got dropped?
Did he?
Or is this a
It
trade?
just said
trade.
pay. We'll go with
I'm
trade.
gonna go
I doubt he
trade,
got
guess.
dropped. I
Let's
doubt
go-
he got
Let's
dropped.
go trade.
On Live Studio, it's calling you, by the way.
Oh, good.
Do it on Live Studio.
So basically, what would I pay for him? I'd be trying to move a receiver for him if I'm receiver rich and willing to and need the running back help for the future. I'm not looking to trade a running back. I'm starting now for it. So maybe try to do something like John Brown
I don't know.
as a solid wide receiver too for
I
him.
think you start with what the owner is trying to value him for, because I think is extremely difficult to judge, because it's going to be very different amongst people what they think of James, or not James.
If we're looking at
Le'Veon Bell,
If we're looking in the running back realm of things, I may be looking probably around the Matt Breida, Kenyon Drake, kind of that type of tier. Jordan Howard right now, those types of guys.
I would try with Marshawn Lynch.
I would try to go lower. Marshawn Lynch is another one that I have in the same tier as those guys. It's because of it. right now everything is that Bell's going to be back week 7. You don't know for sure, but when he does come back week 7, I mean, that's the highest I would go. Obviously, come in lower than that. But when he does come back, you got to expect a high volume kind of top 5 running back, which those guys aren't going to be.
Yeah.
So you're still getting good ROI, assuming he's not lying. You obviously try to come in lower than that, but that's about as high as I would go.
And this is just what's been reported. He has never said this publicly.
I know. I'm just saying that if you can get him to go for John Brown, then sure, but I wouldn't, if I'm the Bell owner and you're talking to me about that, there's no way in hell I'm pulling the trigger on
exactly.
that.
I'm trying they're going to want someone like a James Conner, like a Kareem Hunt in return.
I wouldn't go as high
like not even James
Conner.
Yeah. Like, you're going to want something in return because you paid up a shit.
I'm trying to think who's a receiver who's similar to Brown that's got a higher name cachet to him.
Bobby Woods, maybe?
Yeah, Robert Woods, maybe.
On that same vein, Brandon Cooks.
I
don't know if I'd quite want to give up Brandon Cooks. I've really liked what I've seen from him this year.
Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins
would be a good one.
Yes.
Trying to trying to capitalize on a Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Early season blow up.
I mean, the way Corey Davis has looked, that would be reasonable. He's got a ton of volume, but that offense doesn't look to be a blow up.
Yeah,
so.
I'd want to probably be selling a solid wide receiver too, that the guy could immediately plug and play into his lineup. So it's a win for him. He gets an immediate value, and then I get a guy who I can get some upside on later.
Some pretty good ROI.
That is that's a good question.
All right. So back to where we were before the question.
Did we ever read his comment?
It's an alcohol podcast. I'm surprised it's this good. It's what
we're talking about the technical difficulties.
Yep. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we do a pretty good job here considering we're semi-loaded most of the time.
And we're live and we don't edit. So
I got the Chiefs winning. Colton asked us who's going to win the Chiefs and Pats game.
It's in New England. I'm going to bet on New England.
I would probably lean New England.
Chiefs.
But
I'm rolling with
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way.
All right.
I'm rolling with the over.
We haven't even gotten through the intro yet, though, so let's get back to this. It's Beerfield Fantasy Football,
so
Twitter,
how are you
Instagram,
doing today,
and Untapped. Beerfield Fantasy Football. If you want to follow the live stream on YouTube and be able to ask questions on the show, we do all the recordings live now about 5:45 p.m. Central Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday morning with all your questions, 10:30 a.m. on YouTube.
We're 4 for 5 on not having technical difficulty with that.
Yep.
80% is pretty good.
During the weekday show, we'll generally try to do them between segments, not during the intro, and then during the rest of the time, we'll do them. Sunday is all your comments all the time.
You're kind
we answer all the questions.
And you're kind of between segments at that point because you're between the music and the intro.
All right.
Music's its own segment.
Calm down, LG. Calm down.
iTunes, drop reviews on iTunes if possible. Helps boost the podcast there. Drop comments and likes on our videos. That also helps boost up the live stream. If you want to help us even more, there's 3 ways you can do it. 1, send us beer like our beer today was sent. We'll go ahead and shout that out when we get to the beer preview. 2, hit us up for merchandise. We got hats and shirts. I'm rocking the shirt right now. Dan has the hat on, I believe. DM BeerfieldFF or email beerfieldfantasy@gmail.com for that. Or hit me up in either of those places, and I will get you our Patreon information if you are willing to support us with straight cash. That's all I got. Let's hit a beer preview.
All right, are we between segments enough for you? Because we have another question.
Sure.
Cameron Braid or Mohamed Sanu for flex full PPR?
Considering the word that O.J. Howard may actually go this week, I'm going Sanu.
All right. Yeah, that'll change some things for me if he does. I picked up Braid. He's a definite start. I've actually got him flexed in our Dynasty League if there's no O.J. Howard.
All right. On today's episode, though, we have Down the Street by Dock Street and Down the Road Beer Company. It is a collaboration. Both are based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Second time for Dock Street, first time for Down the Road. Second beer sent for us from at Guamdon on Twitter, Alex Newman. He's part of our Dynasty Listener League, and he was kind enough to send us 2 beers. Down the Street is a Golden Ale brewed with honey and green tea, so it's a bit of an interesting mix for you.
All right. Would you do TY and Smallwood for Bell?
Well, I don't value Smallwood much at all, and Hilton, yeah, I do that.
That's pretty fair.
That's a good start.
You had another guy that's got some question marks with him, and a guy who has value right now. Yeah.
All right, time for news.
That was the wrong program.
News.
you changed it up on me.
A little too loud there. You're going to blow out my headphones.
Okay, I'll stop.
All right. Seriously, guys.
I'm done. Really now. I'll stop. You want me to mute myself?
I'm about to that point, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. 4 news. Dalvin Cook, with his hamstring injury, is upgraded to full in Thursday's practice. He has an awesome matchup lining up for him against the Cardinals this week.
Love me some Dalvin Cook. Let's go.
We'll get to that more when we get to the full previews here. Matt Breida ankle was spotted walking around with a noticeable limp on Thursday when he was not attending practice.
I'd probably be limping if I hyperextended my knee. So
No shit.
So I'd be surprised if he goes. He probably needs to rest up a little. He's a little beat up.
Yeah.
Yep. Lamar Miller was upgraded to full in Thursday's practice. He will go this week after being a active scratch last week.
Yeah.
He was an active scratch last week?
He was active but did not play a single snap.
Ah, that makes sense.
Jaguars signed running back Bo Scarborough to their practice squad.
Yes, let's go.
Fucking Bo Scarborough.
Let's go, Bo.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks, both dealing with concussions, practice again on Thursday, and they're in line to play Sunday.
I really hope they both clear because I could use both.
We'll say, have they both been cleared? Or at least one of them been cleared?
They are progressing through. As long as they don't have setbacks Friday, they should be cleared.
All right, good.
I'm on target for both of them then.
All right. Geronimo Allison with his hamstring and Randall Cobb with his hamstring returned to Packers practice on Thursday.
And need to YOLO start Geronimo someplace too, so I'm really hoping he goes.
Same.
It's a good matchup. Just not sure how much volume's going to be there.
And Greg Olson, dealing with his broken foot, was upgraded to full in Thursday's practice. He is going to go Sunday.
Thank God.
If you throw him out there, that's a lot of hope and pray.
I can activate him at least.
That's true. O.J. Howard with his knee injury remained limited in Thursday's practice and may go this week against the Falcons.
I hope not.
For the sake of everything that is holy, he better not play.
I need a couple Cameron Brate weeks. I need it to get through my NFL season. So, and if it can happen during this bye week time, you know what? Play him and then let him get hurt for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I can use Cameron Brate through the bye weeks, and then he can come back and it'll be fine.
All right. A couple guys who did not practice today. We already mentioned Matt Breida. Devonta Freeman also did not practice today. It's looking unlikely he goes this week. For wide receivers, Paul Richards and Jamison Crowder both did not practice. And then at tight end, no Kittle and no Ebron.
The Kittle thing hurts because that's a late week injury here.
He goes Monday. Keep a real close eye on Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
All right, that's all I got for that. We're not doing the full in and out segment just because I don't have nearly as much information on Thursday versus Friday, so I had to scrap it. So it's time for previews.
You know, left clicking works better than right clicking.
Some days.
I do.
Weekly preview.
And we start off by heading over to London. It is not an early game, though. It does kick off at noon. It's 2 West Coast teams, so they gave them the late start. Seahawks are playing the Raiders. I believe this is at Wembley. I forgot to check. Seahawks favored by 2.5, 47-point over-under.
It is in London.
Yes, it is. Well, Wembley is which stadium it was. I didn't know if it was Wembley or the other one they play in.
So wait, they're in London. What time's the games to kick off?
This one is a noon game.
That's like 7 o'clock London time?
6.
6? Okay.
Cool.
I was wondering if they're playing at like 2 in the morning. You said late games. I'm like 3 o'clock. It's gonna be a late go in London.
Yeah, it's a late London game. The next 2 weeks we get the bright and early and 8:30 in the morning kickoffs.
Sweet.
So look forward to those in the next 2 weeks. All right, starting with the Seahawks though, Wilson is currently the quarterback 19 on the year. As we've discussed last week, the lack of rushing is absolutely killing him this season. So the Raiders are not a bad matchup. They're currently allowing 15th most points to opposing quarterbacks, and every quarterback, including Keenum, Tannehill, and Mayfield, have all hit at least 14.8. So he's going to be safe, but you could probably have a better quarterback just with how high-scoring quarterbacks have been this season.
Yeah, I am in a position. I have some Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford stacks, so I do have to start Russell Wilson in a couple places. I don't hate it this week, though.
Yeah, this is far from his worst matchup. He'll probably be fine. He may give you 20 like he gave you this last week, too. In the last 2 weeks, Raiders have allowed 4 running backs to hit 10-plus fantasy points in half PPR. So that's 2 a week. Not a great matchup for them overall. Carson was Dan's start of the week, and he wanted to be all of our starts of the week, I
He is
believe.
the show start of the week.
Show start of the week.
Let's just fix that right there.
And then considering it's a 60-40 split, Davis is even in bad kind of RB3 level flex if you're needing help this week. Raiders have been terrible against opposing running backs.
They have been. I've rolled Chris Carson out multiple places too. We were in love with him, but I do have Mike Davis higher than I've ranked him since middle of last year.
Yeah.
Yep. When it was just injury apocalypse there.
When it was Mike Davis.
Yep. At least one wide receiver has hit 10 in every game against the Raiders so far this season. With the Seahawks, the tough part is who's the reliable wide receiver is going to get you 10. Is it Baldwin, Lockett? Is it David Moore? I would generally try to avoid it. If I'm picking one, though, I'm going to go Baldwin, who I would consider a wide receiver 3.
Lockett's kind of been the guy. You and I think, are flip-flopping here because normally it's the other way around. I'm the one that's
it feels weird
on Baldwin, and you're on Lockett. Baldwin didn't do a whole lot last week, though, and Lockett's kind of been the most consistent, so I wouldn't feel terrible about him.
All right. Yeah, Lockett, I have probably a fringe wide receiver 3, so almost startable in 3 wide receiver leagues. As for tight end, 10-plus fantasy points allowed to tight ends the last 2 weeks. Nick Vanette's the only tight end receiving significant stats on this team. He's in the 10 to 15 ranked streamer range this week and would be startable if you don't have any better options.
I sure am.
Of course.
Like lots of people, you have no better options at tight end unless you drafted Kelsey or Ertz.
Well, especially if Ebron misses with Doyle out and Kittle misses. Yeah, no, there's not going to be a lot of better options.
Nope.
On the Raiders side, Seahawks defense has overachieved expectations this year, especially against opposing quarterbacks. No quarterback's broken 16.4 points in the last 4 weeks. Carr is a bench in all but the best matchups, and this definitely is not one. And then outside of last week, where Gurley went off for 31 points, the Seahawks have been pretty good against running backs as well. Zeke went for 13 against him in half PPR. David Johnson got 17. Shalincha's still a start here, but it's more of a mid to low running back 2 than a high-end running back 1 matchup that I probably would have predicted to start the season. And wide receivers have generally been below average against the Seahawks. For outside wide receivers, Robinson, Woods, Thomas all broke 13 points. So Cooper is startable here, though. Just as a wide receiver 3, though, he's been wildly consistent. Slot receivers have done very nicely, so I don't mind Jordy Nelson as a high wide receiver 4. He runs a large percentage of his routes out of the slot. Kupp and Sanders both broke 15 against this Raiders defense. Or against the Seahawks defense. Only one tight end has scored a touchdown against the Seahawks this season, and only one has broken 50 yards, so lower expectations for Cook, though he's still a must-start this week just because you do not have 12 better tight ends over him right now.
Nope.
That's all I got for that game. Let's go to one of the higher-scoring ones, Bucks versus the Falcons. Falcons favored by 3.5 at home, 57.5 point over-under.
On to another guy who I think wanted to be probably all 3 of our starts of the week, Jameis Winston.
Hell yeah.
QB1 after week 8 last season. Atlanta's given up 3 touchdowns in all 4 games since week 1, 330-plus yards in 3 of their 4 games this year. He's got all the weapons. It's going to be a QB1 day for Winston, and I'm not even worried about that. Start him if you got him.
Hell yeah.
On to the running backs. Don't start them if you have them. Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones. Atlanta has been burnt by receiving backs, and they've given up a ton of rush touchdowns. Jones did outtouch Barber in their matchup, so if you absolutely, for whatever reason, are in the worst possible case at running back, I guess Ronald Jones is okay, but I don't trust either of these two at all, and I would continue to not trust them. It's a watch situation, though. If they can do nothing in this game, they're not going to do anything. As for the wide receivers are absolutely killing the Falcons. Evans is an easy 1. Godwin an easy 2. I think Jackson's kind of a wide receiver 3-4 type, and that's just because you don't really see a lot of the same deep balls with Winston. However, that being said, I do like all of them. I think there's a scenario where you could start all 3 of them. Atlanta's giving up 29.4 points to wide receivers this year, and 1s are blowing up, 2s are playing very solid. So, I'm completely comfortable with Godwin, completely comfortable with Evans, and Jackson, even in an emergency, will be fine this week.
Yep.
And then Cameron Brate, this is assuming O.J. Howard does not play. If he does, this obviously changes. But when he's the guy, 6.68 targets a game. He averages 4.5 receptions a game, 55.9 yards a game, and he has 13 touchdowns over that. I believe it's 19 games. So he's pretty much a locked and loaded, really what would be this week, probably a top 6 tight end if O.J. Howard does not play and in this matchup. And do not even... You can start Catanzaro. Don't even think about the defense. Anything else here? All right, on to the Falcons. Matt Ryan is also an absolute start because Tampa Bay's defense, not very good either. 33 points a game allowed to quarterbacks, 330 or more yards in all 4 games, 9 touchdowns through 4 weeks. You just start your quarterbacks against either of these teams, really. So you're rolling Matt Ryan out there. He's easy top 6 for me. Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith. Freeman, you've got the foot thing going on. Watch his status. If he doesn't go, then obviously Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith get a bump. I'm assuming he's playing because they said they're less concerned about it. Touches last week were 10-9-4 with all 3 involved. Tampa's giving up most of its 24.1 fantasy points per game to receiving backs. Cohen and Kamara both scorched them, so I think this really screams it's a Tevin Coleman game.
If there's no Freeman, I absolutely love Tevin Coleman in this matchup. You'd be a high 2 for me.
Yeah,
if I was doing my rankings this week.
And really, I think that even if there is a Freeman, that I like Tevin Coleman more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Though I don't like either one a ton if there's both, because the 3-headed monster is gross.
There's not going to be a lot of volume. Just receiving backs have been more efficient, and Tevin Coleman does get more of that work. Not saying that Freeman doesn't get receiving work, he does, but Coleman gets more of it.
Mm-hmm.
For the wide receivers, all 3 are startable this week. That's Jones, Ridley, Sanu. Slight edge to Ridley given recent weeks, but Sanu's of it, as a bye week fill-in. He had the blow-up week last week. This is a team that does not defend well in the least bit, so you can run all 3 of them out with confidence. But in that order, Jones, obviously start your studs. Ridley, feel good about him as a 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sanu, just kind of like whoever the third dude was. Oh, Deshaun Jackson. Same type of argument there. And then Austin Hooper. I didn't want to give us 5 straight weeks with Austin Hooper as a tight end start of the week. He was almost my B option over Njoku, though. Every tight end's had a very fantasy relevant day this year against Tampa Bay, though. The average line is 6.7 receptions, 103.7 yards, and half a touchdown. So
Start Hooper.
Start Hooper with confidence. And again, defense, no. Kickers, go for it.
We have questions.
We have a lot of questions, it looks like. Holy
lot
crap.
of questions.
I'm going to read them off here because I've been keeping track here. So Colton asks, where do you guys got Ebron this week in your rankings?
I
could say you can go check our rankings board. I think they're both mid to high 1s for you guys this week, or mid to low 1s this week.
I got to go look. Hold on.
Next question then.
If I got him as my 9 if he goes. Jets haven't been amazing for tight ends.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
And then
I'll
from
just
Project
flip back
Badass here, we have a couple questions from here. I don't mean to skip your other one, Colton. We'll do his both of his at the same time.
He's my 12. Ebron is.
Deshaun Watson or Big Ben this week?
I think I've been. Yes.
I would start Ben this. Well,
it's Ben.
It's Ben.
It's Ben. Ben is my 9. Watson is my 14.
I actually prefer Watson just with the way they're throwing the ball.
Okay. I would lean Ben here as the tiebreaker. His other one is Deshaun Jackson, Tyler Boyd, or Alshon Jeffrey. There's no is it PPR standard half point project for us?
I don't think it matters for me. I think it would still be Jeffrey here.
Okay.
I know that New York hasn't been bad, but he's looked great since he came back. And
you said it was Jeffrey, Boyd, and who?
Jackson.
Boyd for me.
Is it? Okay.
That's tough. I lean Jeffrey just for.
I'm glad we're agreeing.
Yeah.
I don't hate Boyd this week.
I don't either.
But Jeffrey has looked like a true wide receiver 1.
They're both
since he came back.
They're both very good starts this week.
And I know that the Giants haven't been terrible. I'd try to find a way to get them both in if you can.
Yep. And then the last question from Colton here: would you move Kerryon Johnson for any of these receivers? Tyler Boyd, Brandon Cooks, Emmanuel Sanders. He's deep at running backs.
Cooks.
Cooks.
I would move him for all of them.
That's what I was actually going to say. I'd probably move him for all of them. Especially if you're deep at running back. He's a guy that people are going to buy into that very well could take a larger load as the season goes on. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. He's staying consistently around 10 touches, and all 3 of those wide receivers are doing good. So if you have a weakness at one position and a surplus at the other, yeah, I would move him for any of the 3. But in order, it would be Cooks, Sanders, Boyd.
I would be Cooks, Boyd, Sanders. I just like the Cincinnati offense a little bit more than what I've seen from Denver's passing game.
I go all volume because that equates to fantasy points a lot, and that Sanders is getting double-digit targets every week.
Well, Boyd's averaging 9.5, so he's pretty much right on that.
Is it 9.5? I thought
he's 9.5 since week 2, which is
when his breakout was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is you're going to save a lot of money on Excedrin because you're getting yourself rid of the carry-on headache.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't have to guess how much volume he's
So
going to
if
get every
any
week.
of those owners actually do that, then yes, I would do that.
20+ points on all the weeks Mixon is out, and about 5 to 8 when Mixon is in. Yeah, and that's partially game script also.
He's been in against Baltimore, who he did very well against before he got hurt. And Miami we don't fucking know anything about Miami.
Yeah,
and those are the two.
And if
games
Cincinnati
he's
has a
played
lead,
most
they're gonna run more, and that's Denver. I think has been playing from behind more than Cincinnati.
They didn't really have a lead against the Bengals. They came back and got the lead in the fourth quarter on that one. It was just
who? Wait,
Who?
what?
against Miami.
What?
It was the other way around. So Miami got the lead against.
Well, no, I was saying the
Miami.
Cincinnati was playing from behind, so you figured they would have thrown more. He mentioned game script, and
Okay. Either way, those are all.
I still don't get it, but let's move on.
Let's keep moving on.
all right. Panthers versus the Redskins up next. Redskins favored by 1 for some reason after what we saw on Monday night.
How are the Redskins favored in anything?
I don't know. 44.5 point over under. So this is my bet of the week, even though I don't bet. Panthers side, if you take out week 1 where the Redskins crushed the Cardinals, the Redskins have been a bit below average against opposing quarterbacks, giving up a low of 13.8 points to Luck, average of 19.9 per game. Cam is a fine start here, and assuming an average game for him, it's basically an average matchup for quarterbacks.
Let's put it this way. If I'm betting this one, I'm taking the money line, and I'm taking the Panthers. I don't want the over-under, and I don't want the spread.
Yeah. It's a point.
Yeah?
Okay.
It's a pick'em game. That's pretty much what it is.
Redskins are facing a lot of running back by committee up to this game. The last 3 matchups were Colts, Packers, and Saints, so this will be the first bell cow they've had since week 1. Average running back production they're giving up to opposing backs is 80 yards rushing, 40 yards receiving, and a touchdown. So expect most of that to go to McCaffrey this week. I like him as a top 5 play. Receivers have generally been touchdown reliant against the Redskins, though, with only 1 breaking 10 fantasy points on that one. That was Fitzgerald week 1, who mainly did it on receiving volume. Funch is a wide receiver here, and I wouldn't start any other Panthers receiver.
I agree.
As for Olsen, though, Redskins have allowed 7 fantasy points to 3 straight opposing tight ends, at least. So this isn't a terrible start here if you're desperate. The foot is a big concern here, but it's a plus matchup for tight ends.
If you have the guts to. I mean, you probably do, because of how bad tight ends have, like the whole pool is right now, but whew.
Yep. And I don't hate the defense in this matchup. Redskins side, after shitting the bet against the Saints, you're not going to run Alex Smith out in a 1-quarterback league. This would be an above-average matchup for him, but you can't trust Alex Smith right now, especially with his receiving core completely banged up right now. None of them are practicing.
Ooh.
At least one opposing running back has hit 14.5 fantasy points in every game against the Panthers. Zeke, Coleman, Bernard, and Barkley. There doesn't seem to be any consistent pattern to the production. Zeke, Coleman, Bernard were more on the ground. Barkley almost got into all of his production through the air for his game. So I'd lean Peterson. He's generally been the more effective back through the games as a low running back 2. Thompson, for me, is more of a mid running back 3 in this matchup.
I love Chris Thompson if there's no receivers for them, though. That is
we've been preaching this love Chris Thompson stuff, and he hasn't really done it.
Well, he had a decent PPR game on Monday night. He had 6-7 receptions.
It was okay.
It was fair. It was average. He had 6 or 7 receptions, but it wasn't a blowout.
And it wasn't a lot of yards.
It was 40 yards. So I mean, he was right around the 10-point mark in full PPR, and in half PPR you're not feeling great about that. You're feeling marginally okay about it.
Yeah. He's only had, I think, 1 good game this year, and that was, I think, week 2.
It's also a little banged up.
He had 2. I think week 2 and 3. I think 1 and 2 he had, 20 points apiece.
That's right. Week 1 against the Cardinals, he also blew up with Peterson. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Redskins wide receivers are awful. If Crowder is healthy, though, he's the one I'd gamble on. Slot receivers have a minimum of 64 receiving yards, and 2 of 4 have scored against the Panthers so far this year. Outside receivers have basically done nothing outside of Odell Beckham last week, and the Redskins do not have anyone on that level, obviously. This should be a get-right game for Reed, though. Panthers allowed 3 tight ends to break 50 yards or get a touchdown in the 4 games they've played, and they were not elite tight ends. It was Eifert, Uzama, and Hooper. So, roll out Reed. He should be fine for you this week.
So we have the inactives coming out for the game tonight.
Okay.
Brett Ellison is not playing tonight.
So there is no tight end for the Giants.
No tight end. I don't know who the 3rd tight end is there.
Do I have Sterling Shepard anymore?
It's going to be Garrett Dickerson and Scott Samosin at tight end.
I don't know who either of those
I don't
are.
fucking know either. I just laughed when I saw that.
And we deep dive depth charts before the season starts, and I don't know who those people are.
If you're playing DFS on Thursday night, throw in Sterling Shepard for all that solely.
Right.
All right. That's all I got on that game, though. We're on to Colts versus the Jets. Jets favored by 3. 46-point over-under. Hopper, you got this one.
All right, let's go ahead and start with the Colts. Andrew Luck, 30 and 40 fantasy points the last 2 weeks, respectively. The Jets have allowed 25-plus fantasy points for the last 2 weeks. Colts are going to need to throw as the running game's mostly not been effective against the Jets, so I love Andrew Luck this week.
Yep, I'm a little concerned about his weapons, but he should be hucking the ball
We
plenty.
were
I was concerned last week about his weapons, and he did fine.
And there should be no screen and no Johnson again this week for the Jets.
Yep. All right, moving on. Naeem Hines, Marlon Mack, Jordan Wilkins, because Mack is practicing.
Return of the Mac.
Turn on the Mac.
Well, my first note was return to the Mack will cut into Hines' work.
Yes.
Wilkins has been mostly ineffective, and Mack is really going to cut into that, too. I'm going to need to see him not hurt to believe in starting them. See how this all goes. If Mack isn't playing, then I love Naeem Hines, but with Mack playing, who's also an adequate receiving back, that does take targets away from him. So I'm avoiding this backfield this week. The Jets will add some yardage to receiving backs, so if I have to start one, it's still Hines, but I think Mack takes enough away from him to not make him a sure thing.
Agreed. It's definitely a wait and see on this backfield. I want to see how it shakes out with Mack back and healthy.
The wide receivers, so with Hilton's not playing again, which is an issue. Chester Rogers, Ryan Grant. I don't really know who's going to get the volume here.
It was Rodgers Thursday night, but it was Grant the week before that.
Right. So take your pick on them if you're in the mood for a desperation play. If Ebron doesn't go, then both of them, one of them could be a really good option. I don't know which one. I'd say probably Ryan Grant. But I don't want to put I would go elsewhere still.
I would lean away from
because I don't want to bet on either of them, and you don't really know how this is going to play out if there's really nobody there. Maybe Naeem Hines is a better option with that, especially if Ebron doesn't go.
I agree.
I just lost my spot. Jack Doyle is not going. Eric Ebron now questionable to go. The Jets are incredibly good against tight ends anyway, though. 4.5 points per game good and 1 touchdown all season. No one's up for 40 yards, but there's not going to be anybody else to really throw to. So if Ebron plays, you run him out there.
Yep.
It's because he's going to be the first best wide receiver on the team. Is the tight end.
Also, have the Jets played any tight end of note yet?
Joku. That's about it, I think.
Yeah.
So, but still, 4.5 fantasy points. You figure somebody gets lucky and catches about 6 or 7, maybe.
Yeah.
So, anything else on the Colts?
No.
Oh, defense. Don't mind them as a streamer, actually.
They played above their expectation, and they're getting their rookie back.
And they're going up against a rookie quarterback. So,
which is always a good
with
thing.
Not great weapons either.
I feel like I should know his name.
The
linebacker from the Colts.
Oh.
I think he's a tackle or sacks leader this year, at least.
He was the tackle leader before he got hurt. I'm not sure if he still is.
Yeah. Darius Leonard.
There you go. Thank you.
That's
Leonard.
it. As for the Jets, Sam Darnold, Wilson Brady both stacked points against the Colts, 35+ to be exact, but Darnold is still a rookie. I did struggle against Detroit and Cleveland, deep league starter only, and mostly just avoid him.
Yeah,
if you can. The Owl twins, Crowell and Powell, 3 rush touchdowns given up this year by the Colts, and some efficiency as of late. Inefficiency as of late. Sorry, 1 back in 4 or 5 weeks has been startable against them. But they're giving up over 4 yards an attempt in the last 3 games, 7.8 receptions per game given up, but only 60-ish yards. To me, they're worse against receiving backs. Let's put a bow on this cluster of notes that I had there. They're worse against receiving backs. I like Powell more than Crowell, but they're both flex plays.
They're always both flex plates because they can't take a hold of this backfield.
I'm not really comfortable with either of them, but it's Powell over Crowell this week. It was the other way last week.
Okay.
Anunwa and Anderson, Hopkins and AJ Green are the only 2 wide receivers to top 15 points versus the Colts. Fuller and QT both did have solid days, though. Anunwa was my favorite in this one as a volume-based wide receiver 3. I'm not worried about last week. He had 5 targets. It's a bad week. It was a throwaway for me. Robbie Anderson, I just need to see him do a little bit more, consistently get volume, because one blow up receiving play for a touchdown is enough to be like, all right, cool, you can start him again.
Especially when deep diving in it, the Broncos just get smoked by speed receivers. So that was an obvious mismatch.
Yep. And as for the tight ends, no one here really looks good. So just don't start them.
Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yep. Kicker, steer away from them.
All right. Dan's up next. Chargers versus the Browns. Chargers favored by only 1.5. 44.5 over under.
But before we get to that, we have a question. Alex Collins or Blau Powell this week from Jared?
I need to remember who.
Collins. The Ravens have the Titans. Jets we just talked about against the Colts.
Still Collins, but real ugly?
I don't even know about that.
What was the question?
It's the same situation. Collins or Powell? Is it a half point, a full point, or standard, dude?
Yeah, if it's any type of PPR, it may be more Powell than Collins.
Collins concerns me because he's been good, but if he does one bad thing, Harbaugh is not afraid to pull him.
And the matchup isn't great.
No,
we'll get to that later,
not.
but the matchup is pretty terrible. I like Powell's a little bit more.
I would lean Powell.
As long as it's not a standard league.
Yeah. Half point, you said. So Powell for
Powell,
me.
yes.
Nick, you agree? Are you still leaning Collins?
I'm still leaning Collins.
Okay. All right, moving on. We're going to start with the Chargers here. Rivers is a must-start at this point. He's on pace for the best season of his career. 13 passing touchdowns, to 2 picks. His QB rating is at 116.4. For running backs here, Melvin Gordon is, of course, a must-start. He's been extremely consistent. As for Austin Eckler, he's a mid to flex play every week just because you can't just he doesn't get the volume to support a true RB2 ranking. His efficiencies are off the chart though. He's number 1 in yards per touch at 8.5. He's third in breakaway run rate at 11.8%, and his production premium is at a plus 74.4, which is insane. And that's only second best. As for receivers here, obviously Keenan Allen's a must start. He hasn't got off to the hot start that we all expected, but he started off so last year, and we all see how that went for him. So he's fine. As for the Williams brothers here, Mike is a mid-flex play. The Browns are about average against receivers. That's because they haven't given up a lot of touchdowns, but they have given up the second most targets and the fourth most receptions here. So he's a mid-play. You just hope maybe that a production they give up can lead to more touchdowns. As for Tyrell, I'm leaving him on the bench. He averages 5 targets a game at this point. Less than 5 targets per game at this point. Not enough volume here. I'm not trusting any of these tight ends, as we have no clue what's going to happen with them from each week. And the defense isn't a terrible play. They haven't looked great, but Mayfield is prone to sacks and turnovers. He's taken 8 sacks in 2.5 games and thrown 3 picks in that span. Anything else on the Chargers?
Nope.
All right, moving on to the Browns here. Speaking of Mayfield, he's a low-end streaming option because the Chargers actually have been pretty bad against quarterbacks, especially without Bosa. They've given up the 10th most points to QBs this season at 19.59 points per game. They've given up over 2 touchdowns during that span as well. Running backs here, Hyde is the only one we're starting because he's getting all the volume. He's basically this season's Lamar Miller. He's just a mid RB2 play every week. His efficiency isn't great, but he gets the production. And then Duke Johnson, I think he gets some flex appeal just based on how this game script can go. It's hard to trust a guy who's only averaging 5 targets per game. So you're kind of swinging for the fence here. And he just came out and bitched about not getting enough work, so maybe that may lead to some random production. But as I said, he's a low-end flex play this week. Receiver here, Jarvis Landry again is the only one we're starting because he gets all the volume here. Callaway is still in the doghouse, so can't trust him. Which boasts up Njoku, who's always a streaming option at this point. He's starting to heat up though too. The target volume's always been there for him, but now that the production's starting to show up too, he's had 5 or more receptions the past 2 weeks to go along with these 18 targets during that span too. No touchdowns on the season, but that's coming soon.
All right, that's it for Chargers versus the Browns. Moving on to Cardinals at the Vikings as these over-unders keep dropping. This one's 43. Vikings favored by 10.5. On the Cardinals side, there's not going to be a lot to talk about here. Vikings defense began to look a little bit like itself last week. Large chunk of Wentz's points came in comeback mode while the Vikings were playing soft, so Rosen is an absolute sit until they can pull themselves out of the basement. They're currently last in the league for average plays run per game at 48 a game. That is atrocious. Second lowest is Miami, by the way, at 52.
Liars.
Liars.
Because Gay said he wanted to run 70 to 75 plays a game.
Yeah, not even close. Yeah, they're second worst in the league.
Yep.
Vikings have allowed opposing running backs to break 14 points in 3 straight games. That was Chris Ivory, Todd Gurley, and Wendell Smallwood. Only one of those I consider a good running back. So Johnson should be fine here as a low running back 1, high running back 2. They are giving him a decent percentage of the carries and targets, even if the pie of carries is very, very small. No receiver is startable here, and outside of the Rams games, the Vikings have actually been pretty fantastic against opposing wide receivers. Only 2 have hit double digits in the other 4 games, and that was Dante Pettis and Devontae Adams, both required a touchdown. No one here is dangerous enough to start against this Vikings defense. On the flip side, the Vikings have allowed 4 tight ends to break either 90 yards or score a touchdown in the 5 games they've played.
Don't do it.
So if you want an angle to attack the Vikings, it is RSJ.
6 targets, no receptions last week.
So I don't love it. I don't trust NASCAR as far as I can throw a NASCAR. But
how far can you throw?
How far can you throw a NASCAR?
Nowhere.
Okay.
All right then.
But it's a weakness in the Vikings defense that they may be able to attack. So if you're looking for a dart throw,
all right,
this is it.
I get it. I believe you.
On to the Viking side. Cardinals have actually been a decent defense against opposing quarterbacks. They first 4 picks already, only allowed 6 touchdowns. One of them was a rushing score. So Cousins is still a start here, but he's a back-end one, not his normal mid to high one that we've seen the rest of the season. If Cook goes, which it looks like he's going to, he is a must start. Cardinals have the worst defense against running backs in the NFL. They've allowed multiple backs to hit double digits or a single back to hit 20-plus in every single week, and in week 1 against the Redskins, they allowed both. Murray slides into a running back 2 spot if Cooks is out, and he's even startable as a flex if Cook is active. Outside of the game against the Rams, no receiver has broken 70 yards, and only 1 wide receiver touchdown has been scored this period this season against the Cardinals. Teams just generally aren't having to throw against them, so Diggs and Thielen are both wide receiver 2s, but just based on game script, this may not be a great game for them.
They still throw.
Just expect
outside of week 1, there hasn't been it's all throwing.
Expect lower target volume this game for both. So don't expect 10 plus for both.
Don't hate on Diggs and Thielen.
Really? Do I have to go get my jersey? All right. Cardinals have faced 3 good tight ends this season. That was Kittle, Burton, and Reed. All 3 either scored or broke 50 yards receiving, so treat Rudolph as a normal this week as a mid to low tight end 1 and expect his normal probably 50-ish yards and you hope for a touchdown. On to Bills versus the Texans. Hopper, this is your last noon game.
And we're ending it on a bad note.
Yep, Texans are favored by 10. It's a 41-point over-under.
Josh Allen.
Christ.
Nope. LaShawn McCoy, Chris Ivory. McCoy finally saw some touches last week and gave you 108 yards from scrimmage. He's an RB3 by default. Houston's just average in this area. They've given up 3 10-point weeks, but it's not going to be a blow-up. It's not a plus matchup, so more of the same from last week. He's probably got some floor, but not a whole lot else. Kelvin Benjamin and the wide receivers. Nope.
Oh, excuse me. I just puked a little bit.
Throw it in the NASCAR and push it up the cliff.
Charles Clay can hop him back. That's it. That's all.
That's the Bills.
Let's get to the fun side.
If you can call it that, sure.
It's like
funner side.
It's more fun.
Yeah, there you go. It's more fun.
Deshaun Watson, not a ton of situations where you don't start him. He is throwing about a pick a game-ish, but he gives you plenty of rushing floor, so you can live with that. Buffalo's been pretty good against quarterbacks, under 20 points 2 of the last 3 weeks, but I don't think you can bench Watson. He's at least safe, even if he does end up in the high streamer range, which is where I've got him ranked, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, whichever one it is. Buffalo's given up 1 15-plus point game this season. They've given up no 100 scrimmage yard games. So Houston's run offense is marginal, though. So there's just nothing that looks good here for either of them either.
Yeah, I think I got Miller as a running back 3.
That's where he should be.
He is a running back 3. As for the wide receivers, 10.9 is a season high in points given up to a wide receiver. No receiving touchdowns since week 2. So I don't know if in the games that they won, the defense has played really good because it damn sure hasn't been the offense. And in the games that they've lost, the opposing team, talking about Buffalo here, has just kind of gotten out ahead and nobody's had to throw. So outside of Hopkins, I kind of want to avoid this. QT's been fine the last couple weeks as an emergency guy. He's shown you that he can have some floor. Fuller, the kind of high-risk guy that I would avoid just because I don't know that they're going to have to throw a whole lot. I don't know there's going to be a ton of volume here.
And if they get out ahead, they may rest him.
Yep. Or the defense is going to be, I don't know. There's just nothing about Buffalo's is good. The offense isn't good, and it's not necessarily a fantastic matchup anywhere either. Ryan Griffin, he did finally emerge as a tight end target leader. Should be considered a mid to high end streamer. Buffalo is giving up 7.2 points a game to the tight end. So it's a kind of a non-dud, but really a no ceiling guy either. So well, not really a whole lot more fun. You've got some marginal flex pieces there, plus Deshaun Watson, but I'd mostly stay away. The defense is a fine start, but this is not going to be a high scoring game or a very pretty one to watch, I don't think.
All right. Let's get out of the shite for a moment and go ahead and head over to Cincinnati, where the Steelers place the Bengals, so this should be an ugly rock'em sock'em game. Bengals are favored by 2.5, but we do have a 53-point over-under, so there should be some fireworks.
We have questions. Coming from Jordan Hunter, he asks, where is our trust level compared to guys like Aaron Jones or Philip Lindsay? I would start Cook over both of them.
What about half a NASCAR? I don't think I can move half a NASCAR either.
Is it just Nas though?
I'll take a Nas if you mean the energy drink.
I'll take a Nas. He's pretty good at hip hop.
I don't know that I can move a car. I could probably move a Nas. Alex Collins, Philip Lindsay. Man, Lindsay I trust. Alex Collins I don't trust a whole lot. This.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Who I also don't trust.
I don't. Well, game script could play out in his favor because C.J. Beathard is not going to keep up in a shootout with Aaron Rodgers if the offense is clicking. But there's no guarantee that he's going to get touches. So let's put it on a 5 scale. My trust in Aaron Jones this week is probably about a 3, and in Alex Collins it's about a 2 because I don't love the matchup at all.
Alex Collins wasn't even asked. You just had to bring it up.
Sorry.
Is Delvin Cook?
Sorry, my Philip Lindsay trust is a little bit higher.
Where would Delvin Cook rate if he's going to go?
Above all of them. He's like a
easily
4.5.
You had Lindsay at a 5.
I said Lindsay was a 3.5.
Oh, never mind. I heard a 5 for some reason.
I don't even know what question I'm answering. I keep trying to talk about Alex Collins.
All right. For me, Lindsay's a mid running back 2. If Cook is going to go and he's 100%, and we don't hear anything about a snap count, any concerns about him being limited to play, he would come in as a high running back 2 for me. So about running back 14.
Okay. All right, moving on. That's a good question. It was fun. Steelers, Bengals here. We'll start with the Steelers here. They're really easy. It's kind of like last year. You're going to start Big Ben because he's doing big things. Even if it's on the road, he's been pretty good.
So it's a Big Ben minus.
Expect a back-end QB1 instead of a high QB1 finish, I guess. James Conner is an auto start with Bell out at this point. The Bengals are also bad against running backs, giving up 118.2 yards per game this season at a 4.5 yards per carry clip. Brown's an auto start, and Juju is a legit wide receiver 2 in fantasy. He is startable every week. Who you don't want to start are the tight ends here, or the defense, or the kicker, because he sucks ass too. Speaking of the tight ends, though, Xavier Grimble is in this mix now, so that's 3 tight ends you have to try to guess.
Grimble makes me grumble.
fuck that mess.
Xavier Grimble sounds like a Muffet.
Yeah. So that's it about the Steelers.
And I don't mean the way he talks. Yeah. I mean his name.
Gumble. And the Bengals here. Dalton's had a great matchup this week. He's been very good this season. So this is a good, just a good fun shootout for him. I would throw him out there if you're looking for a QB streamer this week. As for the running back,
Dalton better be owned at this point. You better not be available.
I mean, most people are just afraid. It's just like Red Rocket. He's been bad for so long.
I don't think Dalton's a streamer. I think Dalton's just a go.
Yeah.
At this point.
So
there's a lot of good quarterbacks.
And no problem, Jordan. You're absolutely welcome.
All right, moving on to Mixon. He's rapidly approaching auto start territory. He's averaging 115 total yards a game at 4.5 yards per carry. He also averages 4 targets per game. He's almost an RB1 easily in most of his matchups.
I think he is this week for sure.
He'll do most of his damage in the passing game, I think, because Steelers' run defense has been surprisingly effective.
Well, that's because teams give up on running the football against them because they're behind or they need to keep throwing.
Or the Chiefs, who just felt like turning it on them.
Well,
that's
plus,
true
let's
too.
be honest, there's not a lot of fantastic matchups this week, so he's definitely an auto start.
Yeah. And as for the receivers here, AJ Green's an auto start, and then Tyler Boyd, just because of the game script and what Vegas predicts is a lot of scoring, he's a low wide receiver 2 with a lot of upside, high wide receiver 2 upside. Boyd is averaging 9.5 targets per game and nearly 7 receptions per game since week 2. And then Uzama. You got it right the second time. He's my start of the week because Steelers suck against tight ends, and why the fuck not?
It's like me starting running backs against the Chiefs.
It's like
just
Nick-
going back to that well.
It's like Nick throwing NASCAR. You just kind of know what the outcome's going to be. That's it.
All right. Last game before we hit the beer review, we got Bears against the Dolphins. Bears are favored by 3 on the road.
Let's go.
Let's go.
41.5 point over-under on this one. Real ugly there. Starting with the Bears side, only one quarterback has broken 16 fantasy points against the Dolphins this year. No one has exceeded 21 fantasy points, including Tom Brady. So it's a tough matchup for a quarterback we can't trust yet in Trubisky. Even after his 50-point bomb, I agree with Dan, he is a sit. On the flip side, running backs have destroyed the Dolphins. At least one running back has scored at least 16 points in every single game. They're giving up 30% more points than average against opposing running backs. And in one game, they allowed the Patriots to have 2 backs break 17. Howard is a strong start here as a low running back 1, and Cohen is a solid flex option in this matchup.
Benji.
No.
No, Benjamin.
You do not speak his name.
All right.
Rhino.
So I'm going to recommend not starting Al Robinson this week, though. He's going to get the Xavier Howard treatment. People who have faced Xavier Howard, including A.J. Green, who had a solid game against him this week, their average is 6.3 fantasy points and half PPR. The wide receiver 2, who generally gets more targets in this matchup, gets 12.2.
Taylor Gabriel?
So I'm recommending you start Taylor Gabriel over Allen Robinson.
I am starting Taylor Gabriel.
I'm assuming Xavier shadows.
He shadows.
Okay.
He generally shadows the wide receiver 1, and every single one he's run up against,
Where's
except for
Anthony
A.J.
Miller
Green,
when you need him?
hurt.
I know. I want him to blow
So
up.
you start Kevin White, I guess.
No,
No.
Taylor Gabriel.
Josh Bellamy.
Fuck yeah.
And then Dolphins have yet to allow a tight end touchdown, and only Delaney Walker broke 45 yards. If you have Burton, you probably don't have a choice, and you're probably starting him. I can speak for that in multiple situations right now.
Same here.
Don't expect a blow-up game from him in this one, though. Hope for a floor. Love the Bears' defense, though. They're my number 1 defense against a banged-up Dolphins offensive line. They're going to feast. Onto the Dolphins side. Bears are forcing an average of 2 picks and 1 fumble on opposing quarterbacks per game, and have allowed held every quarterback except for Rodgers to under 16 fantasy points. Tannehill is a must-avoid in 1 quarterback leagues, and if you can avoid him in 2 quarterbacks, I'd recommend doing so. Turnovers are coming.
Just like winter?
Just like winter.
And ineffectiveness.
Through 4 games, the Bears have allowed just 294 total yards to opposing running backs and only 1 touchdown. In total.
Jesus Christ.
Drake and Gore are absolutely must-sits here as well. The only wide receiver angle I found that the Bears get beat at is they tend to get beat by speed receivers. Randall Cobb, Tyler Lockett, Christian Kirk, Deshaun Jackson have all broken 90 yards or scored a touchdown deep against them. So Kenny Stills is not a bad wide receiver 3. This is kind of the one wide receiver weakness the Bears have shown. Bench everybody else. If you can trust Gesicki, this would actually be an ideal matchup for him because the Bears actually have been terrible against tight ends for some reason. 3 straight tight ends have gone for 10+ against him, but Gesicki has 12 targets in 4 games with a high of 5. So he's not startable except in 2 tight end leagues.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Hey, I might have to start him in a 2 tight end league.
That's different.
Then go ahead. That's actually a pretty good option.
Yeah, that's when you want to.
Dolphins defense has actually been sneaky good this year. They have 2 kick return touchdowns, at least 1 pick in every single game, and 8 sacks on the air. So this is actually not a bad streaming option as well with the low over-under. So Dolphins or Bears, both good defense matchups for you. That's all I got. Time for a review of beer.
Should we answer a question beforehand?
Yes.
Sure.
It's a text question from Marie.
From Marie.
A jealousy type of question for defense. Bears or Vikings this week?
Bears.
Sure. I find a way to start both because they both could go off this week.
Bears.
It's Bears though.
Harass your commissioner and make it a two defense league.
I didn't quite make them my 1, but between them and Jacksonville versus Dallas, it was really close.
Bears were my 1.
Yeah.
Beer review.
Well, this is the first alcohol I've had in 5 days, so it was delicious for me. What did you guys think of down the street?
It's a golden ale. It's very, very easy to drink. I think that some of the green tea actually pops out in the middle of it. A little bit of sweetness on the back end. I don't really get a lot of the honey. Again, we're drinking out of a can, not normally the way that you recommend to drink craft beer. But overall, it's a very, very smooth drink. What percentage is this?
It's not on the can.
5.8.
Oh,
yeah,
5.8?
it's on the can.
It is on the can.
And it's a 28 IBU, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It's not bitter at all. It's very, very crisp.
I taste nothing on the bitterness.
No, very crisp, and the spices of it pop out nicely.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of golden ales, but I really like the crisp start to this. It kind of leads to that refreshingness, and just I like the green tea that sticks out on the in the middle there, and it's good times.
It's very bright.
It is very bright.
It is very bright.
Actually, I'm a big fan of golden ales generally.
I'm with you.
So because they kind of give you a little bit of the wheat taste without the overwhelming wheatness of a Hefeweizen.
That's why I can tolerate golden ales, because I don't get the heavy wheat.
Yeah, they don't have like the massive citrus bite that a Hefeweizen or a Saison does.
Yep.
So it's a much milder version of that. Very sessionable. I tend to be a big fan of golden ales. Breweries, if you can make more of them, I'd appreciate that.
Golden ales, amber ales, copper ales.
Amber ales.
Red ales.
Love them all.
Love
red
reds.
ales.
Love them all.
All right.
Like my ales.
All right, Hopper, you kick us off with the 3 o'clock games. You got Ravens versus the Titans. Ravens by 3.
I really didn't do myself any favors with game assignments this week.
41 point over under. You'd had no idea coming into the season.
I have the largest gap between
this is
talking.
Freaking terrible. Tennessee's middle of the road against quarterbacks. Flacco's middle of the road quarterback. So don't start him. No touchdowns allowed to running backs. Receiving backs are averaging under 25 yards a game. They'll give up some yardage, but it's an avoid week for both of them, if you can. Collins slightly over Buck Allen, though.
I'd lean Buck, but that's so
Buck
gross.
could fall forward for a touchdown, I guess, but nothing's good there.
Yeah, that's right.
Speed kills. Fuller and Stills both over 100 yards and a touchdown. Jeffrey also blew up in this one. I do like John Brown a lot this week. Crabtree, kind of a deep start. As for the tight ends, just avoid them completely. They're literally splitting targets between 4 people.
That's how you answer the Ravens.
That's the Ravens for you. Defense, good start. Defense, actually, for both teams, is probably the best start you're going to get.
And Tuck, we trust.
Yep, and Justin Tucker, sure. As for the Titans, Marcus Mariota, Baltimore's allowed 1 multi-touchdown game and has a pick in 4 of 5, so you're avoiding Mariota the mediocre. Deion Lewis and Derrick Henry, under 100 yards a game rushing allowed for these guys, and this is a split backfield, so that doesn't bode well. 1 rush touchdown, even less yards to receiving backs than what Tennessee is giving up. So I don't like either running back.
This is a defensive struggle if I haven't seen one. You take the under in this game, folks.
Absolutely.
I like the under in this game.
Corey Davis, Taylon Taylor, as the usual. Corey Davis on the volume side of a back end 2, high end 3, and nothing else there. And Johnny Smith, 2 tight ends have been over 60 yards against this team, so he kind of falls in the same realm as RSJ.
Where you don't.
Except I trust RSJ more than I trust Johnny Smith.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
He still has yet to show much, so.
What'd you say, Wilson?
Well,
go ahead.
There's not a whole lot here for me to like. It's the defenses and maybe the kickers.
All right. Well, I'm up next with Rams versus the Broncos. Rams favored by 7, 52.5 point over under on this one.
We have a question.
We do have a question.
This is a funny question from Colton. I'm the commish of my league, yet everyone won't trade with me because I'm a Pats fan. Should I kick them out and just keep all the buy-ins?
Just
ethically,
no. Ethically, no.
But
from a humor standpoint,
from the standpoint of where I would find it hilarious, yes.
yes.
I have no standing.
But we are assholes
so
that like dark things.
Sure.
I would find it very amusing. If I was in this league, I'd be pissed.
Yes.
Now, what you should do
it's a
is,
power move.
As soon as this year is over, everyone who refused to trade with you because you're a Pats fan, you should no longer invite them back to the league.
Yes.
Because you're not supposed to withhold bias there, but take the money, buy yourself beer, and be like, screw you guys.
And then send us some of the beer.
And send us some beer.
Because
you're good to go.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. That was the question.
Back to Rams versus the Broncos. As I mentioned, Rams favored by 7, 52.5 point over under. From the Rams side, Goff gets a Broncos defense that allows a minimum of 15 to all opposing quarterbacks. 3 have broken 19. This is not the Broncos defense of old. On top of it, from what it's looking like, all 3 of his weapons are going to be there. It looks like Kupp and Cooks are both going to play.
Goff.
Moving over to Gurley. You were going to sit him anyway, but the Broncos' run defense is falling apart. They've allowed 4 backs to break 14 fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. Easily my number 1 running back this week. Speed at the wide receiver position has killed the Broncos so far this season, so this is more of a Woods-Cooks game than a Kupp game. Speedy outside guys can be safely started as mid to high wide receiver 2s. Kupp is a wide receiver 3.
Every game's a cup game.
Every game is a cup game.
And Cup we trust.
So the best game for a true slot guy so far this year is Willie Snead at 339-0. So Cup should exceed that. So I'm not saying that's what he's going to perform, but this is not a great game for
Have
him.
they had any other viable slot receivers?
I would have to double check the numbers.
They play the Chargers yet?
They have
the Broncos?
They have not played the Chargers yet.
No.
Okay.
They played the Chiefs, though.
Who don't have a
Who don't
slot.
have a slot
Well, that's right.
receiver.
Hill is outside. I just assume.
All right. We don't worry ourselves with Rams tight ends. We're not even going to cover Everett and Higbee. And defense is a must start this week. Keenum has been a mess this season.
That's what happens when you don't have Diggs and Thielen anymore.
On the Broncos side, with Talib down, Rams defense has been significantly less scary for quarterbacks, but Keenum cannot be trusted. He's got 6 total touchdowns on the year and 7 picks. Only broken 250 yards twice. He just does not put up the volume for fantasy relevance. Keenum should just be straight dropped if he's owned anywhere. I'm even considering that in 2 quarterback leagues at this
I have
point.
to stream him in a league, so
That better be
it's got in that bag.
Better be Drew's.
No, it's not Drew.
I
I have
actually-
Winston in Drew's league. I got lucky.
He's like my quarterback 20 this week or something like that. So I think it could be worse.
I may have not even ranked him.
I don't know where
I did.
I have him, but
I
we'll
got-
figure
no,
that
I
out on
did.
Sunday.
He's my 19.
See, I told you. He's
got a decent matchup.
He's my 18. I actually have him ahead of Bortles.
I mean, he found himself able to throw something.
right.
Kind of.
So Carson and Davis in week 5 went for a combined 202 and a touchdown against the Rams defense. So I actually like Lindsey a lot as a running back 2 this week.
Me too.
Just because he's been leading in touches, and it doesn't really matter what the game script is. He seems to get the ball. Who I don't like is Freeman, who as soon as this team falls behind, they immediately bench for Booker. So if they start falling behind early, which I expect they do, it's going to be catch-up mode, and then we'll see a lot of Booker and no Freeman.
Vance Joseph is right up there with Matt Patricia right now on my shit list.
He's not an offensive coordinator. You should be blaming Bill Musgrave.
I hate Bill Musgrave. I've always
As
hated
a
Bill
Vikings
Musgrave.
fan, we hate Bill
Vance
Musgrave.
Joseph is a defensive-minded coach. Now,
I don't
now you
care.
should hate him for how bad the defense is, which you can do absolutely.
Just hate that whole coaching staff.
Yes,
Yes, they all should get
I give you
fired.
permission.
Right
I also
now.
give you permission to hate John Elway as a GM.
Hate.
For back-to-back weeks, Rams have allowed 2 receivers to break 17 fantasy points. Diggs and Thielen 2 weeks back and Lockett more last week. So Thomas and Sanders are both startable as wide receiver 2s in this matchup, and volume should be aplenty as they're playing in catch-up mode. And then the whole target the tight end thing that Oakland did week 1, yeah, no one has done that since. No other tight end since them has broken 6 targets. That was Kyle Rudolph. As a reminder, Cook had 12 in that game, so Hireman is not a target player in this matchup. Leave him on the bench. That's all I got in this matchup. Let's move over to Jaguars at the Cowboys. That's Hopper before we have a double Dan finish.
It's always double Dan. I feel like
Double D.
double down Dan.
Speaking of things that are gross, though, I really did myself no favors this week.
You did not.
Blake Bortles, Dallas has given up over 300 yards the last 2 weeks, 22.7 quarterback points over the last 3. He hasn't performed in the last couple plus matchups, so just to be frank.
And there's no garbage.
and there's
time
going to be
Bortles.
no garbage time Bortles
None.
this week. So I'm not necessarily in love with it. I mean, if you have to, it should be fine, but it's not going to be great. TJ Yeldon, Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles isn't going to do anything. He just got there. So it's all TJ Yeldon all the time in this one. They're average against the run. Dallas is. He's going to have a ton of volume, though. It's going to be kind of a grinded out running back 2 game for TJ Yeldon.
And expect lots of check down passes.
Yeah. And speaking of the passing game, things I don't love. Not a ton of passing in this one. Westbrook can be started as a fill-in. QT, Tate, they performed really well. And Westbrook's kind of been the most consistent receiver here week in and week out. Other than that, Cole, I don't know that there's going to be enough volume. This is going to be a defensive rushing game struggle, I think.
This should be all Yeldon in defense.
Yeah.
And Josh Lambo.
Niles Paul, no. On to the Cowboys. So starting with Dak Prescott. Zeke Elliott. Zeke. Wide receivers.
Zeke.
Should probably start Zeke. And
I think he has the highest target share amongst their receivers.
Yeah,
too.
and the tight ends.
Zeke?
Yeah, no, Zeke there also. And that's about it.
And their defense.
And the defense, sure.
Zeke.
Yep.
He's going to kick, too.
He sees,
And
he sees
even
everything.
Zeke, I don't love this week. I think I got him outside my top 6.
I don't,
get volume.
I don't love Zeke this week either. He's the only one that's fantasy relevant, though. So.
Actually, just outside my top 5. He's my 6.
And this is a fantasy football show, I think. So
Some days.
Zeke.
We drink.
That's it.
Zeke.
All right.
Zeke.
Well, Dan gets one fun one and one kind of fun one to finish this up. For Sunday Night Football, we got Chiefs at the Patriots. Patriots favored by 3, 59.5 point
It's
over
gone
under.
down a half a point?
Yep, it is not at 60 anymore.
Bullshit. I hate it.
Dan, who are we sitting in this clusterfuck of a matchup?
All right, so let's look at the Chiefs here, Zeke. You're starting. You're literally starting all your Chiefs: Mahomes, Hunt, Hill, Kelsey, Watkins, Zeke.
You beat me to it.
The defense has been good the past couple of weeks, but this is a Pats team that's finally getting its firepower back. So I would not play their defense this week. I don't expect a lot of field goals. I think you're gonna have to score touchdowns to keep up in this game. But you want to throw your kickers out there, you can. That is pretty much the Chiefs. Start everybody. And as for the Patriots, it's pretty much the same because Brady's kind of back here, and the Chiefs are bad against quarterbacks. 23.7 points per game to quarterbacks this season. They've given up 1,800 yards in 5 games. That's 360 yards per game. Running backs here, I like both Michelle and James White because when the Pats figure out who their 2 main running backs are, they tend to be very good. And the Chiefs are also second worst against running backs this season. They give up 28.04 points per game to them, including the 3rd most receptions, most receiving yards, and tied for the most receiving touchdowns. So Zeke is a great play this week.
Zeke is not a great play this week. Zeke's an average play this week.
As for the receivers here, it's all Edelman. He had 9 targets in his first game back. He's clearly the number 1. And though it's good to see Josh Gordon get back on track, he just doesn't get the targets, and he's clearly the number 4 in this team behind Gronk, White, and Edelman.
And Zeke.
So to number 5. Hogan, you can just drop. Obviously, Gronk's auto start. That's that game.
All right, and then you wrap us up with 49ers versus the Packers. Packers by 9.5. So this should be a snooze fest on Monday Night Football, 46.5 point over under.
All right, we'll start with the Niners here. Kittle's the only guy I trust because he clearly gets all the volume at this point. Even though Bethard has thrown the ball a shit ton, I trust Kittle. He's gotten it done 3 straight weeks, and 2 of them's been with Bethard. The Breida doesn't look like he's going to play, so I actually do like Morris this week just because of that type of volume that he'll get. He even got 5 targets last week without him playing, so he's even getting involved in the passing game. I think Garcon, I think Goodwin was a full practice this week, or a full practice today. There's just a lot of volume going on, and I think the Niners are going to try to throw to keep up with the Packers. They'll fail.
I think they kind of have to.
But Bethard threw the ball 56 times last week against the Cardinals. Against a team that's not known to put up a lot of offensive scoring. So, as for the Packers here,
in baseball or football,
yeah. Oh,
shots fired.
As for the Packers here, Rodgers is pretty much an auto start, even with his weird receiving core, because as he's shown us last week, he can get it going with anybody.
Hey, they may all be back.
Yep. And then Vontae
Geronimo!
Ellison. And then Adams and Graham are also both auto starts because they tend to do things very well. As for the running backs here, there's just not a lot of confidence to go around, but I like Jones the most. He gets the outside play because Niners, or he gets the flex upside play here because the Niners are bad against running backs, and Jones is the best of the 3. And then just keep an eye out on the injury concerns about Allison and Cobb here. If one of them can't go, I do like MVS because he showed last week he can actually get it going. And if they both can't go for whatever reason, ESB is intriguing as well. If they both can play, this is in terms of Allison and Cobb, they're both mid to low flex plays. Just really depends on their health. And their defense isn't bad because Bethard is garbage. 4 turnovers last week and 4 sacks. So,
all right,
play matchups.
Well, that wraps up week 6 for us guys. Good luck, Zeke. So is this like the cocaine of last episode? It's now Zeke.
Oh Jesus! All the coke. Never mind.
What?
All right, to put a
there was cocaine last episode.
Yes, that was yesterday.
I don't remember yesterday.
All right, to wrap up this episode, reminder to join us Sunday for the live stream. With us not being on Friday, we'll have a lot more information on who's in, who's out. Be able to answer more of your live questions. It's 10:30 in the morning, live on Sunday. I know I'll be here. Dan, are you going to be able to show up for that one?
I have Sunday off.
Perfect.
So yes, I will be here.
Dan and I will be here. Hopper will be doing his first remote visit to the show.
Before I come back to the studio on Monday.
He's going to leave that as a surprise.
Oh,
be like, hey, Hopper's here.
Remember when he said he's not going to be here again for a while?
He got one more.
He's a lying son of a bitch.
You got one more.
The son of a bitch.
I got to come back up here on Monday and finish up some things. So I'll be here.
Well, as a reminder, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped Beer Fueled FF. That's where you can find our postings, and when all the episodes drop, be able to check out all the can art for all the beer we drink and read all the reviews. Individually, I got Dan Thury hiding behind a monitor from me.
Thury BFF. What's up, Zeke?
Christopher Appert, to my right.
Yo, wait. Yeah, good luck, guys.
Cheers,
at Hot BFF with TPs.
All right, and I am at Zeke Sparts.
he's gonna
may have to change my Twitter.
He popped himself.
Please don't.
Don't make yourself. I guess I do it all the time. I can't really say much, but still.
All right, and we'll catch you guys next time on Beer Fueled Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Cheers,
Later.
Colton.
I'm glad this is over.